This is a locked down, safe computer experience full of enriching edutainment and creative software options that I have full ownership and control over, so my kiddo can learn the technology without the brain rot. Here's how I did it. Despite spending more time than most people reflecting on how technology has impacted our day-to-day life and minds, I still feel kind of blindsided by how quickly I'm having to decide how to raise my own child in 2026's technology hellscape. Concerns of shortening attention spans and lowering social skills are a tired cycle that repeats with every generation of children and every advancement of technology. But there is real research starting to conclude that some of the currently widespread screen time habits with regards to short-form video and endless feeds are actually damaging our brains and harming critical thinking and memory, at least momentarily. I'm taking two initial steps from this for my own life. First, aside from any brand deals, I will not be making any more YouTube Shorts, TikToks, Instagram Reels, etc. Even if a video I post is short enough to count as one, I'll just post it to the normal feed. Second, I'm introducing technology to my kiddo in a staggered and responsible way. Slow enough to not throw him into the deep end, but hopefully staying a step or two ahead of what his classmates will try to pull him into overall. My parenting and strategies are changing all the time, so this isn't a concrete, rock-solid game plan for the rest of his life by any stretch. Who knows how things will look in another 5 years, but it's a good first start. Somehow, some of my kiddos' classmates are already starting to get smartphones, but we are way too young for that, and not an option. So instead, I'm starting with the computer. Chromebooks are sent home during the school year to rob children of memorable snow days, rob teachers of breaks, and to give parents an even harder time dealing with the logistics of a canceled school day, thanks to e-learning. As annoying as all that is, the Chromebook has been a great introduction to tech for my kiddo, and he's already taken well to some of the educational games they've introduced for reading, math, and even a cool animation/programming tool called Scratch Junior. I have 5 main priorities to address with this introduction to technology for my kiddo. Real computer use that will drive the learning of fundamentals and actual technology skills that Chromebooks do not do, stability and reliability of the specific device, ownership over our experience and data, and the safety of my child, and of course, fun. If it's not fun, he's not going to use it. Chromebooks are cheap and easy for the schools to manage, but they really do the kids a disservice at teaching the fundamentals of technology usage, file management, and so on. And the upcoming replacement, dubbed Google Book, looks to be a straight-up surveillance tool. So I'm setting my kiddo up with his own laptop. I'm fortunate enough to have a handful of spares from review cycles, sponsored videos, and so on. So I'm giving him my Corsair Voyager A1600, a big but slim and powerful little PC. Completely overkill for his needs, mind you, but I know that I won't slow down anytime soon, and that's always my biggest issue with laptops. Before we set it up, I have to make some changes. First up, my child is not using Windows, both because Windows itself is basically malware at this point, but also because it's unreliable. I finally reached the old man point of realizing that a computer restarting without consent for updates or any reason aside from maybe a crash is just an unacceptable scenario and should have been a deal breaker from the start. And that's just scratching the surface of Windows issues. Regardless of all that though, I really just wanted a stable, reliable experience, and one that I could really lock down and control what my kiddo had access to. Opening up more traditional computer tools as he's ready for them without throwing him to the wolves all at once where he could mess something up. There's a tool for this on Windows. It's called Magic Desktop. Magic Desktop has been around for like 20 years. It runs on all the computers in the kids section of our libraries and provides a neat locked-in experience for kids on Windows with edutainment games and so on. It's not free though. They do offer a perpetual license alongside the subscription model that isn't too absurdly priced for a single home user, but it's still Windows underneath, and I just can't trust that base. Maybe I'll still make a video on it to check it out in the future, but I do not want Windows, period. So Linux it is. I had been running CashioX, a flavor of Arch Linux, on this laptop, and it works decently, though the touchpad isn't fully implemented with some of the custom functions, and the little Stream Deck bar isn't supported, but that's not needed for my kiddo. The little tiny screen does still show the battery percentage, which is great. I didn't want the rolling updates to be a concern here, though. I wanted something that's rock solid and reliable, so I turned back to Ubuntu, the LTS, or long-term support version. Slower software tracks for more stable experiences, far less frequent updates. Why not? I specifically wanted to keep the KDE Plasma desktop environment, so I went with the Kubuntu variant here. Now, see, The thing is, this whole setup for getting the entire laptop where I wanted it to be only really took a few hours. That's thanks to the flexibility and customization of Linux and my experience managing it over many, many years already. It was quite easy, which makes it all the more infuriating that I wasted an entire workday trying to get the live USB installer booted on this laptop. I swear, one day someone's going to make a montage of all the evidence of my technology curse, and it's going to be epic. I might have to go live in the woods. I went through an entire pile of USB drives made with both Rufus and Balena Etcher and a USB SSD with Vintoy, all options to boot ISOs for operating systems, constant fresh downloads direct and through torrents for Kubuntu and vanilla Ubuntu, and not a single one would boot. I'd get fuse file system errors, a /boot is missing error, it would get stuck trying to check for updates even though I haven't been able to give it access to the internet yet. A bajillion things. I checked all the BIOS settings. I already had Linux on here, so it made no sense that I would have issues now. Eventually, after a whole workday, I finally gave up. I grabbed another laptop that's way less convenient and way more overkill, and it also didn't boot the first couple times. I was starting to think that somehow both installers had been corrupted on the server side. There's been a lot of that weird stuff lately. But then on the third time, it booted on this new laptop. Nothing changed. It just finally worked. With one of the USB sticks I had already tried 5 times. I put that same USB stick back into the Voyager I wanted to use it on, and it booted right away. Nothing is worse than losing an entire workday to something that normally takes 10 minutes and coming away with zero insight as to why it even happened in the first place. There's no fix, purely just random chaos. So when I go recommending Linux to everyone, I do so with the understanding that sometimes it comes with absurd, inexplicable issues that once you get fixed, aren't a problem anymore and aren't a problem for anyone else in the first place. It can be frustrating. But all the constant issues and AI injection and forced upgrades and everything with Windows are just as, if not more, frustrating. It's just the devil you know. But again, freak issues that most people who aren't cursed don't usually experience. Who's mad? I'm not mad. Are you mad? What? Mad about what? Anyway, a whole workday wasted aside, I was up and running with Kubuntu. Nice, beautiful desktop, super optimized, runs like a dream, uses very little memory, fans stay quiet. In the BIOS settings for the laptop, I did go ahead and set it to the silent profile, as this one has a couple different modes, for gamers, gaming and stuff. It keeps it running at lower power to keep the fans quieter for a more enjoyable experience, since my kiddo's not running any beefy games on here anyway. It can deal. I also needed to tweak the touchpad settings because, as I mentioned, it's not fully supported here. Touchpad support on Linux has come leagues, even in just the past 5 or so years. But for weird edge case laptops like this that haven't gotten a lot of community support yet, it's not ideal. Only one of the trackpad control buttons works. It has 2 to turn off the trackpad and control it and things like that. Only one of them works. And its sensitivity to palms when you're typing, hovering it's crazy. I can be typing with my hands arched to hover above the trackpad, and it's still starts clicking while I'm typing. Now, if you go to the touchpad settings, it's set to disable the touchpad while typing by default. But on laptops that just aren't well supported yet, I guess, it doesn't work. I plan on setting up my kiddo with a proper mouse, but that would still cause issues while typing since you're still touching the touchpad. So I tried a few different settings. None of them really worked. The obvious fix was to just disable tap to click entirely, which my kiddo has not learned to use. He's learned to push in and click. This way, even when typing, even if the palm does touch the touchpad and it detects it, it's not clicking into the middle of your sentence and screwing up your typing. It just wiggles the cursor a bit. Big win. The first way I want to keep my kiddo safe is through online protections. While he's not old enough to just be straight up browsing the internet freely or at all yet, I know it's going to sneak up on me fast. There's a lot of self-hosty tools that you can use to manage your web access and such, and we can maybe get into those in future videos. But one of the easiest ways to help mitigate online threats is with DNS filtering. There are 2 great options for this kind of right out of the box. Cloudflare's 1.1.1 has a family filter, which blocks adult websites and known malware sites. This is free and great, and you can learn about it at 1.1.1.1/family. There's also NextDNS, which is free within a certain number of DNS requests per month, and then it costs a pretty reasonable fee for bigger use. This is fantastic for keeping both young children and the elderly safe. I'm actually planning on subscribing to this and setting it up both on my kids' computer and on my grandparents' computers and phones to try to keep them from getting junk on it that I have to go clear off every once in a while. Plus, since this is just a DNS filter, it requires installing nothing and is easy to set up on any device or directly on your router. For this laptop, I just edited the systemd resolved file and added the required DNS entries. They have instructions on the site. Pretty easy, and we're off to the races. I then also switched over to the Vivaldi web browser, as it has full Chromium support for website compatibility. The company has taken a strong anti-AI stance, which is great since Chrome itself is forcibly downloading AI models on people, and it has built-in tracker and ad blockers, further keeping my little one safe online. Vivaldi also supports progressive web apps and an ability to basically install a website or a web app as its own dedicated shortcut and launcher, so that the edutainment games that I can't install locally, that have to be run from the web, can be run from direct shortcuts without even exposing a full web browser experience. Glorious. That's safety from outside forces, from that perspective. But I also wanted to control what he can access on the computer itself, introducing normal computer functions over time as he learns them and can be trusted with them. You cannot do this kind of thing, at least not reasonably, on Windows. But thanks to the open, customizable nature of Linux, this is actually super easy. By right-clicking on the taskbar panel at the bottom of the screen, I can enter edit mode and change widgets, change what's on the taskbar itself, where it's at on the screen, how it looks, how it behaves, and so on. Originally, I was going to swap from the standard application launcher to a full-screen Plasma dashboard. Kind of looks like Windows 8.1 or a mobile device. It's a little more user-friendly, and then I can pin the games that I've vetted to the favorites there, keep it more minimal. But I decided that maybe that's even a little too much to start with, so for now, I've completely removed the application launcher from the bar entirely, as well as the system tray and everything else, leaving only a handful of large, pinned shortcuts and the clock. The Windows or Super Key doesn't even open a menu at all now, but I can still use the keyboard shortcuts to navigate to whatever service I need as normal. So Alt F2 for an application menu, Super plus E to open the file manager, Control Alt T for a terminal, and so on. That way the functionality is there if I need to fix anything or change things, but it's obscured so that he doesn't get too lost, and I can introduce concepts such as an application menu or a file manager in a more structured environment over time. I love this about Linux so much. You can really just make it your own. Since sleep is kind of messy, both on laptops in general and in Linux, and I guess in real life, and even messier when you combine the two, I disabled it. In the power settings, I set it up so that the display can dim and such when needed to save battery, but to never sleep and to just shut down when the power button is pressed or the lid is closed, so my kid has an easy on-off experience like his Chromebook at school. I also disabled any passwords for login. Obviously, that's not secure, but nothing as sensitive is being done to it at the moment, and I can introduce that back later. He does already have a password to log into Chromebook stuff at school, so it won't be a big deal when I bring that functionality back. And of course, lastly, the fun stuff. The normal KDE Discover Software Center has a plethora of games available of varying quality. I installed a handful of cute ones that looked like they might be fun and pinned the ones that I thought were of good enough quality and appropriate for the skill and age point that we're at to the taskbar manager thing. I also installed a couple games from the KDE Family Collection. The KDE, the Desktop Environment Dev Group, have built a small suite of kids games and even a book, and made these freely available even on other operating systems. This is wonderful. The main one, Gcompres, is like a full kids environment like Magic Desktop and the library computers with a variety of games, art tools, computer learning tools, and so on. It's an incredible piece of software and perfect for getting kids into computers. It might even be worth just starting with that and having it set to launch at startup if your kid is like in pre-K, and that way you just have a full dedicated environment ready to go for it. I kind of wish I knew about this sooner. I would have had it up and running as the default computer environment. I have KidPix running via a JavaScript web app version available at kidpix.app. If you don't know what KidPix is, it's an incredible, fun art program that was sold to schools and homes when I was a kid that has fun sound effects and tools for drawing and making goofy images online. The Scratch Junior coding animation tool is available for free online as well, so that's also pinned as a PWA shortcut, just like KidPix, as is Teach Your Monster, another free educational set of games for reading, math, and other learning categories. The calculator is pinned because my kiddo loves math and genuinely enjoys playing around with the calculator apps on our phones. Color Paint is a KDE clone of Microsoft Paint, which he also loves to draw and create in. LibreOffice Writer is pinned for typing practice and writing things, though the typing tools in Gcompres are certainly more fun for starting out. K-Tuberling is a silly name, but it's a cute Mr. Potato Head-like dress-up game. Cute Maze is, well, a cute little mouse game where a mouse chases pizza slices. Minesweeper is Minesweeper. Plus, I added a weather widget to the desktop too, as he loves keeping up with the weather and tracking it on his big wall calendar and stuff like that. Set up a custom wallpaper and a custom boot logo in the KDE options for finishing touches, and we have a nice little experience here. It's not perfect, but it's low friction and safe and allows a fun environment to introduce computing concepts to my kid in a way that makes it engaging, but entirely at our own pace, and not an ounce of modern brain rot to be found. It's also operating system agnostic. Learning about an application menu, a file manager, and a web browser are things that apply to any device, really. And by learning here in this flexible agnostic environment means that he's going to be better able to adapt to Windows, Mac, Chromebooks, whatever is next, rather than only learning one specific way. And I will eventually expose him to those other operating systems so he can get used to being dynamic. I think this was a crucial part of my upbringing with computers. I came up with DOS first, then early Windows. Then we got to Windows 9X and the modern Windows. Along the way, I was also using Red Hat Linux 5 in my mom's workplace computer lab, learning to build websites there. So by having, and then we had old Mac OS like 5 and 7 on computers at school. By having this variety of interfaces ready to go, I think that really helped breed some troubleshooting and some adaptability in me that a lot of kids don't get, and I want to instill that in my own child as well. I'm also wanting to include some other games from my childhood, such as Rita Rabbit, Math Blaster, the Hot Wheels Car Designer game that came with my Hot Wheels PC, and Storybook Weaver. I got Rita Rabbit to install and run via Lutris, a great tool for installing games using Wine, a set of Windows compatibility layers and tools, but I'm having trouble cracking it to not need the CD present. I'm running into other issues getting the other games installing, as they're not DOS-based, so DOSBox won't work, but eventually I will include those as well. I loved Math Blaster as a kid. There's a bunch of other stuff installed, but we're going to see what he resonates with, introduce new things as he gets bored, that kind of thing. I could put his favorite game, Minecraft, on here. He already plays on a PC at our TV, but I don't want to open that can of worms just yet. Again, part of the structure here is regulating screen time usage significantly, not just giving him everything at his fingertips. For now, though, I'm confident in this path and stoked to get my kiddo learning the computer and having new ways to play and create a couple times a week. I'm still looking for more fun, age-appropriate art, movie making, and animation tools that can run on a modern PC and on Linux, but I'm stoked with this starting point. Maybe I'll make update videos as soon as things change and evolve if I make new discoveries. And actually, while I was finishing up this video and the project, someone did just port Microsoft 3D Movie Maker over to Linux. Incredible stuff. Blog posts on that linked below. This is Step 1 of keeping my kiddo away from the brain rot. Combined with an interest in physical art, photography, and so on, as well as screen time regulation, I'm confident we can stave it off at least a little bit. I've also got steps you can take to heal your own brain from the rot in future videos, so get subscribed for that, and remember to be kind, rewind.